And at the beginning, you can see I already kind of accomplished my thing, and you maybe would wondering and curious about, oh man, how did you do it? So yeah, how I do how did I do it? Basically, actually, what I'm doing just follow the composition. This symmetry balance composition. I what I'm do is just I duplicating things and make them align in each other. Just creating this kind of linear perspective composition, and I have a dude standing in the middle. So I don't know, maybe this is helping you to see my composition better, but this really is just, when I do this composition, what I'm doing is just try to duplicating things and also make them symmetry. But of course, I break the symmetry a little bit. And another thing I do is just I creating this arch, which is previously this is ruined from some kind of architecture that had this kind of Gothic arch, right? So I basically just I repair this thing and make it back, make this arch back. And because I think this is something for a bit a takeaway, which is when we want a very effective element to guide our audience into our composition, one of the way is creating a very iconic shape and form, such as this arch, or maybe just a sphere, or just very simple, very powerful. Simple actually just mean it's very easy to read. So when we have very something very easy to read, I would say that's a super powerful shape and form, or you can almost say that's some kind of meta thing, metadata, meta iconic element in our environment. So yeah, as you can see, what I'm doing just I have this arch and I duplicate a lot of time and yeah, this is and this background is the uh, 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 some kind of church ruin or I kind of forget about the name. And yeah, this is Abbey, ruin of Hore Abbey. Well, I don't know how to pronounce. Sorry. So yeah, what I'm doing is, as you can see, I directly stretch this Abbey's, and I make it kind of like a castle. It's make it look kind of like Tel Mohan. And I choosing I basically just using the block to creating something like a cube to duplicate it. Just kind of what I'm trying to do. And yeah, the right now I try to do is I try to think about the background, because in the background and the foreground, yes, it looks like quite complex, but actually, if you follow my previous tutorial, you can get idea like how I do it, right? I just make it, I just creating a symmetry foreground, a symmetry foreground and a symmetry background, right? And I think really big uh, uh in interesting thing is unique thing is I tried to design the background of this environment, which is I using this obvious and I tweak it and make it kind of like a castle by just to isolating certain a tower on this obvious and now I just try to duplicate it and moving them around. And you may wondering like, okay, when I'm moving around, like, okay, what I'm thinking, right? So, when I'm moving this thing around, I try to think about something I previously talked about, which is the proportion. I think about the negative shape, such as you see this tower now is. I try to make it closer, so the negative shape is looks like now it's like completely attached to each other, so I kind of make something, big tower looks kind of big, a bit bigger. And right now I just tweak thing, moving thing around and finding the good rhythm of the proportion. We need to squeeze our eye to see the negative shape and the positive shape. Uh, so to finding the good rhythm, and by repeat those shapes, I can creating a nice feeling of space, which is, people can get idea of, okay, man, like in such a long distance, we got this kind of tower castle stuff, but they can still keep repeating each other, keep pushing forward. So man, this must be such a huge place. So I think this is an interesting idea, because the space, when we see empty space, we kind of don't get it, the scale. But now with this repetition, from the even is from the kind of like a background, and now we keep repeat the elements, pushing further and further away. We kind of make audience get really a good idea about, wow, this is such a huge place. It non-stoply just pushing away and away and away, and just and make it feeling this just really epic and really dull place. And yeah, and I think when I creating this fantasy environment, this is something I really want to just you know focus on, which is creating such a huge and the epic scale. And of course also rely and talk about the actual shape and phone language that I use, which is previously I talked about, which is this Gothic arch. You know, I already actually when I think about the element that I gonna use, I'm already kind to filtering some of the some a lot of element. I try to make it some of the kit that set that I using are much more, well, they're actually a lot more closer, in terms of their shape and form, such as these Arby's, um, oh sorry, not Arby's, Abbey. It is this kind of a Gothic element, but of course, right now I make it kind of like a castle, so, but yeah, I am trying to finding the kind of the element that looks, kind of, in my opinion, kind of close to each other, and also I try to, I'm not combining element that kind of too far away to each other. For example, Roman and periods, the kind of very round arch, and of course Gothic arch is a bit spiky, right? So I didn't do it because I know if I try to do creating, I try to combine those two things, it's going to be spend a lot of energy to do it. So yeah, so I kind of didn't do it, and it's kind of being lazy, for sure. And when I satisfy about the as you can see, I just moving the background here and there, and just right now I turn on the denoise it, and I kind of feel like this rhythm is pretty okay. And this is another lighting setting, which is you see me doing this previously, right? It's like I creating two lighting, which is one is we got nice cast shadow on the foreground, and the second one is like we got a light, is very strong light from the right, so we got this nice separation, between the face, and I'm going to render it out, and the combusting these two lighting at the Photoshop. And yeah, so this is pretty much this chapter talking about, and let's see you in next chapter.